right, boys and girls, let's talk about tangent and cotangent. All the rules still apply, just like with sine and cosine, with vertical, horizontal, and stretches and all that stuff. Same equations, we just say tangent, cotangent instead of sine and cosine. Same thing's going to be for secant and cosecant as well. We don't like to say amplitude because tangent doesn't have an amplitude. It's not wavy, right? Sine and cosine, sine and cosine were wavy, so that has an amplitude. But tangent, remember, there is no amplitude, there is no wave. So we call it a vertical magnification or just a stretch. Cycle, that's the same thing as before, except instead of having 180, or sorry, instead of having 360, I'm sorry, we have 180. Instead of having 2 pi, we have pi. Vertical shift up, down. Horizontal shift left, right. Last thing about this is if you recall what the tangent looks like, it kind of goes through the center like that. And it's got asymptotes on either side and all that stuff. That's what I want us to focus on is this point right here when we shift it. Same thing for cotangent. If we have this picture and it kind of looks like that, I want you to focus on moving the asymptotes first, and then move everything else. Kind of got a couple examples here. The first one, let's see if I can make my cursor just a little tinier there, is tangent, and we got all this other stuff. So go ahead and list out. We know it's up 3, right 1 because of that and that. Our stretch is 2. Thank you, sir. Our stretch is 2. And then the last thing we're going to do is pi over 8, which hopefully we're pretty good at that by now. We flip this second one, multiply, and it just gives us 8. So that means I'm going to start at 1, and I'm going to go, my full first period is 8. But since it's tangent, I'm going to divide that by 2, and so I'm going to go up 4, which would be 5, and down 4, which would be -3. And so that's where my asymptotes are. Boom, 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 boom. And remember, if you want to divide this by 4 to get 2, that's how much we're going up by each time. So I'm going to go up 2, that gives me 3, go down 2, and that gives me -1. So we've taken care of the vertical shift, we've taken care of the period and all of the critical points. The last thing is it went up 3, so 1, 2, 3. And remember, my vertical shift moves every single point up 3. So since I have a stretch of 2, I'm going to go up 2, and down 2. So from there, I can actually start plotting the points. So I pick my middle point, and that's in the middle at 3. And then my next critical point is 3, 5. Next other critical point down here. Connect my dots, and I got that picture. Kind of sort of. Same thing, I'm going to add 8 again, so that's 13. Got my asymptote here. Go up by 2, so 7, 9, and 11. So 9, 1 is where my first point is. 11, 5. Sorry, that's sorry. 9, 3 is where my first point is. 11, 9, and then 7, 1. Once again, we get that tangent group. I went through that quickly, but we took care of the vertical shift by moving everything up 3. Did everything right 1. We stretched it 2, and then we did our period, which is 8, and we went up by 2 every time. My computer crashed earlier, so I don't have the exact example. I think this is pretty close to the example I did in class. I did not write it down before my computer crashed. So this one is in radians. That's why we did pi and pi over 8, and it's tangents. That's why it looks like this. Cotangent, it's going to be in degrees. Not necessarily every cotangent, but this one is in degrees. And remember, it's going to go down as opposed to going up. So let's first list everything that we know. So first thing is down 1. Next thing is right 20. Next thing is our stretch is 2. Sorry, not 2, 3. And our B is 3. So that means I'm going to take 180, divide that by 3, and I get 60 as my period. If I divide that by 4, that means I'm going to be going up by 15. There's a lot to take in. Let's first move everything to the right 20. So right 20. Now remember, cotangent normally has an asymptote here. So I moved everything over 20, so now my asymptote is here. 60 degrees away is where my other asymptote is. And I'm going up by 15 in between, so I got 35, 50, and 65. Don't think this is the exact same example I did in class, just looking at it right now, but that's okay. Maybe I went right 20 as opposed to left. Something, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, keep going. I'm going to go to the left just to mix things up a little bit. So that's going to be 5, and then -10, negative 25, and negative 40. And I got another asymptote there. As you can see, 20 and negative 40, that's 60 degrees away, and then 20 to 80 is 60 degrees away. So we've dealt with the horizontal shift of 20. Let me get a different color, check that off, of 20. We've also dealt with the period of 60, dealt with that. Next thing is we move everything down 1. So down 1 instead of being there, so negative 1. And then we have a stretch of 3, so I'm going to go down to negative 4 and up to positive 2. And looks like we're about ready to graph this thing. So I've dealt with the stretch of 3, dealt with that. Now we start plotting points. So let's go with our original one first here. My middle point is going to be 50 comma negative 1, 35 2, and 65 negative 4. Boom. And then once again we repeat it again, there, and here. Boom. You can do another one if you want. Just go ahead and list out the critical points and do all that stuff. You only need 2 cycles worth. Hope that was helpful and beneficial. We're just building off of yesterday. I'll see you in tutoring.